Critter Country at Disneyland in Anaheim, California has taken many different forms over the decades. When the land that would eventually become Critter Country was cleared and added to the park, it was first known as the Indian Village, where Native American shows and exhibits could be found. This lasted from 1956 to 1971, when the land was closed and rebuilt as Bear Country, a forest-themed area filled with nature-focused attractions and bear puns as far as the eye could see, including a fan favorite,
the Country Bear Jamboree.
There was even a bear named Rufus that lived near the entrance to the land, whom you could hear snoring on your way in. Now don't forget about Rufus, he'll come back later. All was well in Bear Country until 1983, when Disney Imagineer Tony Baxter had an idea for a brand new ride that was destined to become a universally loved Disney staple. Right? Hello everyone, my name is Noah and I'm here today to talk to you about one thing and one thing only.
Splash Mountain!
Slippity doo-dah!
Splash Mountain!
Slippity-hey!
My oh my!
Slip!
Wonderful day!
Slip!
Some of you may know me from real life, which is cool, and some of you may be here from my totally legitimate and not at all embarrassing Disney Imagineering fanboy Instagram account, Dear Imagineer. In which case, I'm happy to see all 4 of you made it to this video. About twice a week or so, I like to pick a Disney attraction or concept and talk about what makes it interesting from an engineering perspective. So if you aren't following already, feel free to drop a follow. First, a little about me. I'm a mechanical engineering student at OSU. No, not that OSU. Nope. Not that. There it is, yeah. But I've also led a life filled with choirs, musicals, a weird Irish phase, and a constant fear that someone will ask me to help jump their car just because I'm an engineering student. Please don't do this. I'm just going to end up Googling how to do it and still get it wrong anyways, and no one will be happy. But the point is, I've been interested in fine arts as well as engineering for a while now, and Disney theme parks are the perfect combination of the two. Let's just get this out of the way now. This video is gonna be rough. I haven't made a video for fun since I was a wild and reckless child YouTuber back in the late 2000s.
Ooh, it feels good to stretch.
Since then, I've only used my godlike YouTube abilities to create school project videos, like, I don't know, an in-depth physical analysis of Dreamworks' 2001 smash hit animated film Shrek.
Somebody!
But if you're still here, then you must really have nothing better to do, so let's get started. This is going to be a 2-part series, with the first video, the one you're watching now, being about the plot of the ride, and the second being about its, interesting history. Now, since there are 3 Splash Mountains around the world, Anaheim, Orlando, and Tokyo, I should specify that while most of the general ideas I'm gonna mention apply to all 3 versions of the ride, I will be specifically referencing the original Splash Mountain in Anaheim. I live on the West Coast, so stick with what you know, right? Splash Mountain brings guests along on the adventures of Brer Rabbit as he evades capture by Brer Fox and his dim-witted henchman, Brer Bear. These characters come from the infamous Disney film Song of the South, which itself is based on the Uncle Remus stories, a collection of African-American folktales compiled by Joel Chandler Harris in 1881. I'll cover this in more detail in the next video, but the Uncle Remus stories are where Splash Mountain gets its charm from, as well as its controversial past. Anyways, back to the ride. The Uncle Remus stories generally feature similar plot points. Brer Rabbit wants to do something fun like chill in a garden or eat some peanuts or something, but Brer Fox has other, more dastardly plans for our hero. Brer Rabbit gets caught in a sticky situation, but manages to use his wits to outsmart Brer Fox and Brer Bear and escape. Now, the ride itself is split into 4 acts, and you can tell which act you're in by the song that's playing while you're passing through it. These songs are It'll all make more sense with the actual video, so let's just get started. At the start of the ride, we leave the station and head up a couple of lifts while getting a great view both of the park as well as Splash Mountain itself. On the second lift through the mill-type area, we see and hear an owl hoot. Remember this little dude, he'll come back later. Before heading down the first drop, we see the homes of Brer Rabbit, Brer Fox, and Brer Bear. If you listen closely, you can actually hear Brer Bear snoring inside of his house. This snoring sound effect is the exact same effect that was used at the entrance to Bear Country. A nice little reference for you. After the first drop, we head into the forest. Here, we are greeted by various animals, geese, frogs, possums, what have you, as they sing the first of 4 songs on the ride. How do you do? Around the first corner, we see Brer Bear stuck in a bear snare. A Brer snare? A Brer Bear snare. Forget it! But he's dangling above the pond, giggling while Brer Fox scolds him. This is actually a reference to a specific Uncle Remus story, Brer Rabbit Makes $1 a Minute, in which good old BR gets trapped in Fox's snare, but tricks Brer Bear into taking his place by saying Brer Fox is paying him $1 a minute to be a scarecrow. Classic BR! We move further along the river when we see Brer Rabbit telling Brer Turtle that he longs for adventure, and that he's heading out for his laughin' place. As we round a corner and see a sign directing us toward the Rainbow Ponds, we see Brer Rabbit on some train tracks above, hightailing it out of the forest and into his laughin' place. After another corner, we see Brer Rabbit laughing maniacally and Brer Bear's big bear butt poking out of a cave. Then we drop into Act 2. Ha! Now hold on a second. I take grievance here. After some extensive research, I discovered that the laughing place is something Brer Rabbit made up and mentioned to Brer Fox and Brer Bear in order to get them to follow him into the cave. At no point in this first section is that plot point clarified by a ride element. To be fair to Disney, though, they took note of this and added elements in the Magic Kingdom version of the ride that show both Brer Fox and Brer Bear following Brer Rabbit's signs to the laughing place. Anyways. Welcome to the Laughin' Place, where every single bee ever born comes to rave at night, and the rainbow water flows like, well, I guess it's just water. Okay, water. Now let's take a moment to look at this from a design perspective. Disney Imagineers are masters of making you aware of the story without saying a word, and they've done it again! The lighting has just gone from the well-lit, warm tones of the forest to the cold and dim, black-lit caverns within the Laughin' Place. That should be our first tip that things are not going well. The second tip is the music. We shifted from How Do You Do to Everybody's Got a Laughing Place, but it's not being sung with lyrics yet. The bees are buzzing the melody of the song slightly off key. So now you've got bees, which already make people nervous, mixed with insect buzzing, which means bees, which means nervous, mixed with off-key music that's supposed to be happy, mixed with limited visibility. Okay, I'm just saying, it's not good. We come around a corner and see that Brer Rabbit somehow Kobe'd a beehive right on Brer Bear's bare nose, okay, I'm done now, and is wildly cackling yet again at Brer Bear's misfortune. At this point, the background music has transitioned into the forest animals, or cave animals, rave animals, singing the song. Then, things take a turn. What's this? Can it be? No, there's simply no way. It's Brer Rabbit, caught in a beehive by Brer Fox. That's right, folks. Brer Rabbit's shenanigans caught up to him and landed him in quite a sticky situation. This is the second direct reference to an Uncle Remus story on the ride, actually. In The Tar Baby, Brer Fox assembles a clump of tar into a doll and dresses it in some clothes. Brer Rabbit comes upon the Tar Baby and greets it, but becomes offended when the Tar Baby does not respond to his greeting. rude. Brer Rabbit punches the tar baby, but his fist gets stuck in the tar, so he struggles more and gets further entangled in the tar. When Brer Fox arrives and wonders what he should do with Brer Rabbit, the witty rabbit responds with,
Go ahead. Yes, sir. Skip if you like, Brother Fox. But there's one thing I don't want you to do. Huh? What's that? Brother Fox, I mean, whatever you do, Brother Fox, whatever you do, please, Brother Fox, please don't fling me in that briar patch. Briar patch?
It's the one and only Digo Double G.
Disney, however, didn't want to directly use the Tar Baby story because, well, yeah. So instead, Brer Rabbit is trapped in a beehive. We're slowly taken past 2 scenes before the final lift hill, in which we are sung to by a possum mother on the right and a rabbit mother on the left. Both are singing the song Burrow's Lament and crying out words of warning and mourning. They wonder what will happen to Brer Rabbit, while warning their own children not to follow in his steps, lest they want to meet his fate. At the base of the lift hill, we're met with 2 vultures, or 1 real vulture and a ghost vulture if you're lucky.
It's a ghost!
If only you could.
It's a ghost bird!
Everybody's got
That spout off some ominous and foreboding warnings. Halfway up the hill, we see our boy, the original bee, Brer Rabbit, tied to a stake, with Brer Fox's toothy grin casting an evil shadow on the wall behind. It can be tough to hear. I say this because over the course of 5 trips to Disneyland in my life, I've not once ever heard it myself, but Brer Rabbit does in fact say something along the lines of, Yet again, this is much easier to hear in the Orlando version. So, good for them, I guess. Whatever. Their Space Mountain is better. Shut up. But we crest the hill and dive straight into the briar patch, and lo and behold, this punishment is not what it seems. It's here! It's finally here! The part everyone's been waiting for. We can all finally sing along with confidence. Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay, my oh my. Anyway, we arrive in Doodah Landing. But by the way, before Doodah Landing, we first see a sign above a door that reads Fowler's Cellar, which is actually a reference to Admiral Joe Fowler, a retired Navy officer and close friend of Walt Disney's who contributed to the construction of Disneyland. Also, there's a sign that points to Doodah Landing on the right and Catfish Bend to the left. Catfish Bend was the name of a never-finished Disney animated film from 1981 that would have been based on the Catfish Bend series of books by Ben Lucien Berman, but it never came to fruition. All of the animals are singing their American hearts out. Oops. And we see Brer Fox and Brer Bear trying to evade the jaws of Brer Gator. Last but not least, we go by Brer Rabbit, who is wearing the newest Kanye t-shirt and relaxing in his home. Then we see the owl from the beginning of the ride. I told you it would come back. Ha! Bookends! And get off the ride and go look at the pose you did that just got covered by the person in front of you anyways. All right, let's get down and dirty with some... First of all, wow, what a great ride. The theming on this ride is incredible, and the fact that the animatronics are so old but are maintained so well is just astounding, and okay, that's not what we're here for. Let's talk story. The stories told in the ride actually do stem from African folktales. The trickster rabbit is a very common figure in these folktales, so it makes sense that he would make it into Harris's plantation-focused versions of the stories. The story of the Tar Baby is actually an adaptation of a traditional Anansi story from Akan folklore. The Akan are the peoples of what is now the nation of Ghana, but was the Gold Coast region in Africa. Anansi is considered to be the spirit of knowledge, and typically plays the role of the trickster in West African folklore. In one story, Anansi is tasked with capturing Muatia, an irritable fairy with the ability to become invisible at will. So, he carves a doll out of a gum tree and covers it in silk to make it sticky, and just like the Tar Baby story, it irritates Muatia enough that she slaps the doll and becomes trapped. With the structure of Splash Mountain, Disney really took the traditional story frame to heart. Here is a typical chart showing the 5 basic elements in any story. At the beginning, we have the exposition, where we learn about the characters. In the rising action, we learn of an obstacle that must be overcome and watch the characters make progress towards overcoming that obstacle. At the climax, we find out whether or not the characters will be successful or whether they'll fail. Then, in the falling action and resolution, we find out what happened to everyone involved and where they are now. This is exactly how Splash Mountain is structured, both physically and narratively. In Act 1, we learn about the setting, the characters, and what they desire. Brer Fox and Bear desire to capture Brer Rabbit. Meanwhile, Brer Rabbit wants adventure, and to mess with Brer Fox. So, exposition? Check. Then, in Act 2, we watch the characters interact with each other in pursuit of their desires. Brer Rabbit gets cocky and stops thinking his plans through all the way and starts acting impulsively to prank Brer Fox and Brer Bear just one more time, while Brer Fox starts thinking more and sends Brer Bear into the laugh-in-place trap so he can trick Brer Rabbit and trap him. Rising action? Check. Now, the climax. Act 3 brings us to the edge of our seats, or I guess the edge of our logs. Act 3 brings us to the edge of our logs because we aren't too sure what's going to happen to Brer Rabbit. He gets caught, and Brer Fox is about to toss him into the briar patch, which seems to be a death sentence to the riders. Then at the highest point of the ride, and the highest point in the story, Tony Baxter, you son of a gun. We plummet down the falling action side of things into the resolution, where all at once we learn where we really are and what happened to the 3 main characters. Act 4, resolution, check. Here's a fun fact. The first couple of times I ever rode this ride, I thought that when you went down the main drop, that represented Brer Fox successfully killing Brer Rabbit. Yeah, little old me, like, I don't know, 10 years old or something, thought that we were following Brer Rabbit to his death, then seeing all of Brer Fox's other victims in the afterlife as they celebrated freedom and welcomed Brer Rabbit home. Meanwhile, Brer Fox and Brer Bear were being tortured for their crimes and sins. I mean, come on. You've got Brer Rabbit and Brer Fox's literal descent into obsession with one-upping each other in a dimly lit, a metaphor for confusion and being misguided, I think so, cave being filled with neon mushrooms, drugs, and women sitting on mushrooms singing you songs, temptations, obviously. You're telling me that's not a metaphor for some weird kind of sinful trip? And then we ascend toward a bright light. You know what? Okay, I don't know. Just saying, could be. This ride has some of the best narrative development in Disneyland and combines dark ride and thrill ride elements seamlessly. Every time I go on this ride, I forget about the outside world completely and let the ride take over. And I'd say that means the Imagineers did a pretty bang-up job. So what do you think? Is Splash Mountain one of your favorite rides? Does the East Coast or the West Coast do it better? Or Tokyo, for that matter? Make sure to leave a comment below if you liked this video and would like to see more. Until next time, I'm Noah, your friendly dear Imagineer.